Hi guys, this is Dylan Checkmate Vanguard. We're doing weekly deck profiles once again for premium. Today we have Austin. He's been normally our DP main here, but he's kind of mixing things up with a new deck that's kind of been undersung, a little underrated, a little anti-meta. So we're just coming here to get it highlighted, get it out there so people are aware of what this deck does. So here we go. So introduce yourself real quick.
All right, my name's Austin. I've been playing Lawkeeper. It's been a fun deck. It's really good against just some anti-meta with some control elements. You know, you play obviously your V starter. I play Undex. Your nice over trigger. Your 3 heal guardians. You play the V ones because they're nice and
Prevents your opponent from rushing you.
Yeah, and that helps against as Kagero. I mean, you have some control. Your 4 PGs. 3 crits, they can kind of do whatever you want. I personally just don't like the crit souls because I'd rather keep it for value. And then try crits.
Simple enough.
Yep.
Grade 1s?
Grade 1s. You have your 4 grade 3 searchers. Simple enough. We have targets we need to hit in this deck. I run 3 his hats, mainly just because it's nice to ride this thing and have a bit of control early and draw that extra card that you need a lot of times. I play 6 counter chargers, 4 of the G1, mainly because he tucks himself into the soul and countercharge see something die, which facilitates Lawkeeper's skill and gives you at least +1 from the countercharge.
So I've never seen that guy before. So what is this condition again?
Whenever something dies, he's exactly like Airmo, except you just don't draw a card. Instead, you
But he's CBs too.
You countercharge 2, and
okay.
He tucks himself in the soul.
And that's on both players' turn?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's why I think it's great for Lawkeeper, because you're able to plus off of it. Grade 2s are a bit of a mixed bag right now, still trying to iron that out. Running 3 Torkoal Cannon, mainly just because it's nice for an early retire, in case you're low on carded value from after an opponent's stride turn.
Draws a card?
Yep, draws a card here at 4. Tuck can recycle some stuff. I've experimented with Burnout a little bit. He might see more play, just because he can cycle back a grade 3 heal.
Grade 2 stride?
Yep.
Fodder, you can say?
Burning Horn. He can kill something when he's discarded on your turn, but more importantly, he's stride fodder, so you can keep those criticals as guard.
So you don't have to discard Lawkeepers, and you don't have to discard Blazing Flares?
Yeah, more importantly, just don't discard the crits, because that's extra guard value you have in hand. You know, I'd rather discard a 5k than a 15.
Okay.
And then I've been experimenting with Velocity just for beater, because this deck retires a lot, and it has caught up. I've been really enjoying the results.
That's an auto.
Yes.
That's not continuous. So each time something dies, it gets 5.
Exactly. And that comes up a lot in this deck. And then we have
grade 3s.
Our main man of the show, Lawkeeper. I was able to control the opponent's field because he counts, to start each battle phase, he'll count your rear guards and then hit your opponent's rear guards, and in intervals of your 3 and then their 3 will bind 1. So it can really help against a lot of aggressive decks, just being able to bind 2, 3, maybe 4 even if they're generating cell markers. And his defensive abilities is just getting 5 for if they have no back row, incentivizing people if they have to bind 3 to not hit their back row, just so that Lawkeeper doesn't get 3 or 5k. And sometimes it'll come up where it's like maybe they don't even want to play anything, and he has a skill for that where it's just, oh, they don't have anything, that's 10k. It's really nice going first when you're able to set that up and just have a nice 5k rush basically, because he gets 5k to everything because they have no back row, or you can get rid of it. And
your opponent's going to prioritize getting rid of back row over front row just because of the extra attacks, of course.
Yes, exactly.
But at the same time, if they don't have back row, you're going to get an artificial G trigger, aka a 5k buff to everything in the front row.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
So like for example, if you have something that's like 9k, like gets a small power boost to 14, it just won't hit.
Yep.
So
it's really nice and good defensively. Our next grade 3 is also another star of the show, is Blazing Flare. Being a 23k beater and getting soul is valuable in this deck, and more important, and also he kills things for soul for each soul you pay. So when you're generating all that soul, you're able to spend it to get rid of things, and that works very nicely with the nice D card, Beast Harvest.
The spice. Here's the spice.
The spice right here, which can generate a lot of value against some decks, because it gives your Vanguard the ability to draw a card during the main phase when something's retired. Well, when you're spending soul, that's pretty easy, and very easily when you go into our strides, when you have
Zonburst.
Zonburst, which just blows up the field for free.
So Zonburst just G flips and then kills everything.
Yep, and gives your grade 3 or greater units 10k, so he's going to be 38, and he's going to be 33 because they have no rear guards, which is a very nice number to hit.
It's very high power for a very low cost, more or less. But it's kind of piece reliant. But like
It is.
But when it pops off, you're gonna go so far ahead advantage. You'll be able to set up for falling turns.
You'll be able to guard.
Keep drawing keep drawing into resources. Keep drawing into counterchargers. Keep drawing into your pieces, and it kind of keep you going for a long time.
Exactly, and when you have Kagero staples, that really helps, especially when, let's say you don't have counterblasts. Well, if you have that G card or ammo, and now you have counterblast.
It's free countercharge.
Yep.
Which sets you up for your Lawkeeper on your opponent's turn, and then also if you need to, you have your the one that kills on guard. Denial Griffins.
Yes,
It
Denial
reveals your Denial Griffins.
Exactly.
So-
and you can do that during your opponent's turn.
And then your counterchargers can also proc during your opponent's turn.
Yep.
So obviously you got Zonburst there, kind of go through the G zone.
2 Zonburst. This is a tech card I've been messing with, and this is mainly just because if your opponent doesn't have a field, sometimes you don't have your grade 3 pieces, it's better to go into this guy. He's a Blaze. You counterblast 1, he gets the red text, Wind and Blaze, draw a card, and you kill something. You don't really care about the kill because it's Blaze, but I mean, it could come up. I mostly use it if I just need a card. Because this is nice, maybe I don't want to commit to just blowing up nothing.
Maybe your opponent just doesn't commit to the board as a counter. So you at least have a stride that's not just like not riding Lawkeeper and going to Blaze.
Yeah.
But you can also go into this dude just at least to get a draw card.
Yeah,
So
it's prep you up defensively, and it has come up a lot of the time, but it has done in some work, especially if you over trigger because it's not a once per turn. You're going to draw an extra card, so it really does help.
kind of go into the other foray of cards you use here.
Progenitor Dragon's also a decent first stride. I will go into it if I can, if that situation comes up, just because striding for free is really helpful in this deck.
What else we got?
We have, of course, our standard Ziegenberg. Usually I go into this around second stride, depending on what my PG situation is. You kill something, G-flip for a Soul Blast. G-flip specifically himself, which can be a bit of annoyance. But his other main ability for GB3 is he will restand himself at the end of the battle for a counterblast, and you will pitch cards equal to your opponent's rear guards. Well,
They'll have 0.
you're trying to aim for 0 here, especially with Blazing Flare over there for Soul, so it's usually a 0 cost. And it's a restanding Vanguard. What more can you say? I have hit over triggers on this guy, and restanding 3 times is really good.
You'll never go into it more than once usually.
Exactly,
Right?
because that's why our other guy is
You got
here.
Dumb Jid for that
Good
reason.
old Dumb Jid. He's very similar to this, except he will restand if they PG or G guard.
Good
and-
late game.
Yep, and it's that one is costless, and on place you counterblast 1, flip anything, and you will get 15k for each PG. Good if you've been cycling PGs. I usually try to go into them around 4, mainly because if you're at 3, people might just chance it. And if you don't pull a crit, well, they're not dead. So that's usually not good. And he's not restanding, so he'd be a vanilla big beater, which is why Ziegenberg is my alternative.
It's an alternative.
Yep.
And then what else we got?
We got 1 Drachma.
Comes up sometimes.
Yep, it can come up. Just another finisher for the deck. Nothing more to say about that. We have, of course, our 4 Denial Griffins here.
To further insulate everything.
Comes up a lot. I mean, retiring a rear guard. It's really helpful.
It's the man titular Denial Griffin, of course. What else need to be said?
Not
Got a
much.
problem, Denial Griffin. So,
Monab.
what is this guy?
He's on place. You counterblast 1. He will get 10k shield for each open rear. Well, I mean, you combine
On
that
your
with
board or your
Lawkeeper.
opponent's board?
There's already at least 2 open rear circles, so he's a 35k G guard.
He counts opponent's rears?
Yep.
Okay, so easy high value card.
Yeah, he's really good. Sometimes the counterblast you don't have it, or it's just not good situationally for guarding a rear guard because Denial Griffin exists. But hey, it comes up.
And then what you got last there?
A good Fires Collection card that
Oh, it's
normally
advanced card.
normally you wouldn't run this card in most Kagero decks, but because it can target a back row, specifically grade 1 or less when it's rested. Well, if your opponent, binds 2 from the back row because they're forced to protect, they got that 1 in the back, boost it with Vanguard, you kill that and you give Lawkeeper that 5k it deserves.
Gotcha.
It's my Lawkeeper.
Yep. And that's the deck. It's a very control heavy deck that messes with your opponent and can cause them to misplay or cause them to do weird combos they haven't done before because they have to remember to bind 1, 2, 3 plus.
I think this is a good point to get across, but this deck isn't like made to like kill quick.
No.
But it's built for the mid to long game to where it really exhausts your opponent's resources, get him down to dwindle to nothing, and then obviously, you got Lawkeeper to insulate your defensive turns.
Yes.
But then, you have your stride deck to, go offensive to make sure they have to keep going, right? Keep committing to the board and keep feeding, stuff for your strides, keep feeding stuff for your other rears. And that's the trade-off, is that this deck is just mentally draining to play against.
Yeah.
It seriously is. If you never played against it, you will be wore out pretty quickly, I would say.
Really utilizing the Lawkeeper's defensive skills with your strides that have better offensive skills. It really helps this deck out.
I would say just some really demoralizing parts would be like comboing Best Harvest with just like something as simple as Zonburst, where your opponent is drawing 5 and you're losing maybe 3 to 5 every turn. It's tough to keep up. It's very tough to keep up and keep your opponent in check. So.
And having 7 searchers, searching out your heals, your pieces, Beast Harvest, it can really, you see those pieces. And that's why I run those seven searchers.
Would you consider something like Dismal in the G zone that kind of protect like a defeat flare, that kind of just in case, and your opponent just wants to attack rears, or?
I mean, maybe, but G zone's getting a little bit tight. I guess I could take out a Dumb Jit, but I'd rather have Ab, my 4 Denial Griffin, and Advanced Guard because they come up.
Right.
And as much as I love Blazing Flare, he's a grade 3, and when you have Lava Flow and his hat, you're able to see your pieces.
Right.
And sometimes you're not, and that is a downside.
Even like riding into like Defeat Flare isn't the worst, but you have so many grade 3 searchers and drawlers, you'll eventually see your Lawkeeper within your your second grade 3 turn.
Yeah.
At the very worst, but by then you'll be able to crawl the game's pace and tempo back into your favor.
Yes, I'd say like what really hampers this deck is right now Kagero just doesn't have an amazing first stride. Zanburst is the bend all be all with that rare stride from Ultimate Stride. I mean, if you have the Progenitor Dragon, it's really good stride first, but sometimes you're not going to have another extra Lawkeeper. So I say the thing that's really hampering this deck is they play around it. And
is there a preference to go second instead of going first with this, or is there?
Would
Would you like to go first more?
I personally like to go first because I can set up that Lawkeeper turn. So when they first stride, they have to go, oh, I have to already bind 1 on my first stride, maybe 2 if they fill up the board. If they're Excel and they fill up the board, which they usually do, that's bind 3. So setting that up and Lawkeeper being able to give that 5k to the board on your first turn, making an 18k, set your 3 pieces, that comes up a lot.
Gotcha. So we're going to close this out. Do you have any advice or tips for people that are kind of first playing this deck? Just simple tips or something like that?
I would say the biggest hurdle to this deck is resource management. You're going to find yourself that you made a play that you probably shouldn't have just because you spent that extra counterblast that could have been used for a Denial Griffin. You're
prioritizing Lawkeeper skill versus a Denial Griffin to kill one thing.
I've had situations where I just did not want to use a Lawkeeper skill because it would bound 1 or it just wouldn't
do
help
enough.
my state of the game.
Just being aware where the priorities lie when you're using your counterblast melee.
Yeah, or you didn't see your pieces. So you got to be kind of careful on your resource management. You're going to run into problems where soul is not there or your counter charges aren't there.
Okay. All right, I think that's everything. I thank you, Austin, for coming on the channel.
Yeah, no problem.
Just kind of sharing this idea around, making sure people during Springfest this season are aware that they might draw into this and they kind of need to be aware, kind of just have an idea, a rough idea what this deck looks like, and just kind of understand what they might have to do to counter it. If not, get a better understanding what they have to do if they're put into this position. So thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem.
This is Dylan, Checkmate Vanguard, and have a great day.